So moving on, let's learn about how Polkadot helps shape the digital economy in Hong Kong. So may I please invite Mr. Max Rebol, Director of PolkaPort East, to come up and share with us. Let's welcome Max.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Very pleased to be here. So I am here speaking on behalf of two different organizations. One is PolkaPort East, which is a growth and IR initiative for Polkadot here in Hong Kong, where we organize events, we organize meetups. We, for example, have our regular Polkadot meetup in Tai Kwun that I would like to invite all of you to. And then the second organization that I'm representing is Harbor Industrial Capital, which is a Cayman VC fund that is invested very heavily in the Polkadot ecosystem, and of which the Polkadot Foundation, the Web3 Foundation, is also one of the LPs. So it's essentially an ecosystem fund investing in projects that are building on top of Polkadot. Okay, now, what I want to do today is three parts. Talk a little bit about the Polkadot roadmap and what Polkadot actually is. Talk about Polkadot in Hong Kong, because there's a lot to say about that. And then talk a little bit about the use cases of Polkadot. So diving right in, Polkadot Roadmap 26. So Polkadot is like one of the more original layer 1 or layer 0 technologies that have been around for a while. I always think a good starting point is, when talking about Polkadot, is to talk about its inception story. Polkadot was founded by Dr. Gavin Wood, who is also the former CTO of Ethereum. In fact, he's the one who programmed the first version of the Ethereum virtual machine and the inventor of Solidity, who then went on to found Polkadot because there were, after he completed Ethereum, there were quite a few things that he felt like could have been done better, that could be improved on to make sure that the chain is really as scalable, as secure, where the throughput is high enough to really onboard billions of users. That, in Ethereum, in its first iteration, wasn't really the case. Of course, Polkadot has been and therefore, Polkadot has been created, and in many ways, it is like a superior version. It is an extremely scalable ecosystem, and you have a lot of different projects that are building on top of it. Now, that's a little bit the background. Let's look a little bit into the future as well. So, Polkadot literally just 1 week ago did a very important transition, which is called the Polkadot 2.0 rollout, which moved a lot of services from the Relay chain to the Asset Hub chain, which is already a great performance improvement, reducing existential deposit, for example, and lowering transaction fees, also making them payable in any native asset on Asset Hub. So this is already a pretty exciting upgrade that has happened, literally earlier this week. The other big upgrade to watch out for, and that's something that I'm very excited about, is JAM. JAM stands for the Join Accumulate Machine. And as a matter of fact, Dr. Gavin Wood was here at Cyberport on this very stage that I'm standing on here today to introduce the JAM upgrade just earlier this year. And this was sort of part of the global JAM tour that he traveled on to talk about this massive innovation that is about to be implemented. And what I always like to say, and this is, I guess, more from an investor perspective, is JAM is not priced in yet. Yeah? So JAM is this massive upgrade, and a lot of people are still sleeping on it. Very few people are aware of it, even people who are deep into the crypto space. But if you really read the gray paper and you start to understand what it is, you realize that it's another like milestone in the evolution of blockchain architecture. In short, it is an performance upgrade. It is an abstraction of the relay chain. So rather than adding anything on top of Polkadot, on top of the like building these like layer 1s, layer 2s, layer 3s, right? It's kind of taking the opposite approach. It's an abstraction of the relay chain, which means that it's like a more generalized form of computation that kind of feels and looks like a blockchain, but in many ways, it is more like a decentralized computation network, right? And what that really means is that literally any code that has ever been written in any language can be run by a Jam client. And this is something that we haven't really seen before, right? While other chains are trying to go, do other like, duplications and like something that, like a little performance tweak here or a little bit faster there or a little bit, like another like fancy logo there. This is really like an abstraction, right? The ability to run any machine-readable code in the form of a blockchain, in the form of a decentralized supercomputer. Okay, so this is something to watch out for. It's in all likelihood going live next year. So I encourage everyone to read up a little bit on it and don't sleep on it. That's what I tend to recommend. Okay, with that being said, I want to switch gears a little bit, and since we're here in Hong Kong today, talk a little bit about Polkadot in Hong Kong. Now, we're very excited to announce that literally 2 or 3 weeks ago, Polkadot was admitted as a strategic enterprise to Oasis. Now, what is Oasis? Oasis is the Office for Attracting Strategic Enterprises in Hong Kong. It is a government agency that sits directly under the Financial Secretary of Hong Kong. And we are very honored to have been admitted into this program because it's a very selective, a very prestigious program where some of the world's largest companies have been admitted to. And for us, it's obviously exciting to be part of that. One important thing to say is we are also the very first blockchain ecosystem that joined this program in Hong Kong. And as part of that, I think it really shows our commitment to Hong Kong, to growing and establishing ourselves here, to building up teams, to getting teams that are founded somewhere else, helping them to come to Hong Kong, set up shop here, build on Hong Kong, and be integrated into this ecosystem. Okay, and then the last section that I want to talk about, because maybe the things that I said so far sound a little bit abstract, especially Jam, right? It's quite abstract. Question is what can you do with it, right? What are some of the more exciting things that are currently being built on Polkadot? And I think it's going to give you a bit of an inspiration as well of what's there to come, right? Because this is obviously just the beginning. So I'll give you 3 examples. The first example that I had was Peak Network. We also have some friends here who work for Peak directly in this room. So welcome. Peak is a DePIN platform that is built on top of Polkadot. And it is powering the machine economy. It's the idea that in the future, machines, AIs, robots, sensors, are all their own economic agents. And they're able to, on a blockchain basis, interact with each other, right? And that again, enables a million of different use cases, right? So, think of electric vehicle charging stations that are independent actors but communicate and talk to each other over the blockchain. Or think about data sensors that record rainfall and exchange the data around the world. Think of sort of medical data sharing over the blockchain and empowering the user to own their own data. So machine economy is obviously a massive, massive growth area. And I think only on Polkadot you can run a network of that scale, scaling up, having this kind of throughput, and also having the infrastructure. Second use case I want to talk about is gaming, right? Like with so many other industries, gaming, or with so many other technologies, gaming is usually one of the first adopters, right? Web3 gaming went through several iterations. Maybe we all remember the CryptoKitties, and then we remember the whole like sort of a play-to-earn type of movement. Now, I think now we're kind of in a new generation of Web3 gaming, and the logic here is more that the games in themselves have to be fun to play, right? Nobody really wants to play to earn a token. They want to play because it's fun to play. But then, once it's fun to play, you can add all kind of Web3 primitives on top of it. So for example, in-game asset trading. You play a game because you love playing it, and then you win like a virtual item, right? But that item has a real-world value, and you can trade it with other users over the blockchain, right? So one of the great companies that is building on Polkadot is Mythical Games. So they, for example, just came out with the FIFA Rivals, right? Part of the official FIFA franchise, where you can, play with your favorite football team, and then trade players, after you win the World Cup over the blockchain, right? So it doesn't really feel very Web3 native, right? It feels more like a traditional game, and it's fun to play, right? I grew up playing FIFA football, but it has like these really like interesting Web3 elements integrated into it. Another one that is like at the bottom here is Pudgy Penguins, right? Pudgy Penguins is like an amazing like Web3 native IP, let's say. It's these cute little penguins. So Mythically also just came out with this beautiful new Pudgy Penguins game. If you haven't tried it out yet, I recommend you download it. It's really fun to play. And it also runs on Polkadot. Okay, and then the last use case that I want to really quickly share about is Mandala Chain. They are a really interesting example of government services on the blockchain, which I think is also something that we're just starting to grasp. And the country of Indonesia is really leading the charge here. It's quite an interesting approach. So Mandala Chain is like a local Indonesian company, but they have like multiple contracts with local government agencies in Indonesia, from transport to healthcare to identity management, to essentially onboard the nation of Indonesia to the blockchain. Yeah, what does that mean in essence, right? The government has to interface with their citizens for all kind of services, for all kind of products. So think of like, issuing a driving license, right? Or you go to a public hospital, right? The doctor does like a scan of you, then you want to share that with like another doctor in a different hospital, right? So rather than them just like, sharing it openly or being siloed, the idea is you own your private keys, and if you go to another hospital, you can say like, okay, well, I just did this scan, approve on my smartphone, it's shared with the other doctor so that he can do the diagnosis, right? So these are, again, only 2 examples, and there are a million other examples, but I think the takeaway here really is that governments around the world are really interested in leveraging this blockchain technology as well, right? Because it just gives like a better user experience. And that's kind of, everyone's talking about smart cities, right? Smart governments. This is very much something that we're already seeing in practice. And it's quite interesting that like Indonesia is really like on the forefront of that. I think, it's really worth like taking a look what is happening there. It's still a bit under the radar, but I think it's going to be a big improvement for the life of citizens there, just making government services less painful, right? More intuitive, and at the same time owning your own data. That's really like one of the big takeaways that I want you guys to have, is like Polkadot allows you to own your data. It's fast, it's secure, but most importantly, it's like self-sovereign. So with that being said, I think that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much, and look forward to speaking with all of you in a networking session after.